This is your boy Eli Rex, aka Vibes, and I am here with El Jefe, and
What's
I
up?
am here with Mr. Glass Half Phil, Mr. Spiro right here, and welcome to New York Revival. We are here to revive New York sports and bring you the latest news, and boy, we have a lot of news for you. What's going on, gentlemen? Talk to the people. What we got?
I have to say something, and nobody else can see what I see. But because I'm kind of the host of this thing and set it up, when that countdown music is going, I can see a preview of your videos. And every time it plays, Spiro is like,
Yeah, man.
I never knew
Dude,
that. I've been picking my
yeah,
nose.
hot beat, man. Hot beats. I gotta give it to StreamYard, man. They really know how to pick their wait time beats. I like it.
Absolutely. Shout out to StreamYard. But guys, we are here for a special New York revival. We usually do it on Mondays. But guys, we wanted to give you something for the afternoon because we have some big news coming out of the Giants organization.
Woo.
Joe Judge, after a 10-23 start in 2 years, have been relieved of his duties. He's been fired. So, guys, but Mara had a press conference not too long ago and went over a couple things. But guys, I want to get your thoughts because again, this was up in the air after Monday on what the Giants was going to do with Joe Judge in that head coaching position. But guys, how do you feel about that? How do you guys feel of Joe Judge being fired? And I'm gonna start with you, El Jefe.
I was so relieved and I was so happy and surprised because I really didn't expect Mara to do what needed to be done. And I think a lot of what we feared actually is true is that he really wanted to hang on to Judge. And I think as they started to have some preliminary discussions with GM candidates, it was probably the first or second thing that came up is what's the deal with the head coach? And I think Mara probably led with, we'd like to keep him, we'd like some consistency, but GMs don't want to take the job if they don't have full control because all you're doing is kicking the can down the street. Judge would get fired either during the season next year or at the end of next year. I honestly don't think he's a good head coach. I don't think he gave us any competitive advantage whatsoever. So I'm really relieved. And now, finally, we got what we asked for, which was a full restart. No staggered stuff because you could always blame it on the previous regime and you can blame it on the previous guy that left you a pile of crap. Now, you're starting fresh, GM and head coach. This is what we've been waiting for. I'm very happy.
Yeah, I mean,
Mr.
listen,
Glass half full, Spirit.
I'm gonna piggyback off that for sure, man. Like it's this had to be done, and we talked about it on the Monday show how it was kind of weird that the decision wasn't made, and they didn't come out right away and say, "Hey, Judge is our guy 100% on Black Monday." Black Monday turned into Black Tuesday, and hey, listen, I've seen it rumored around a couple places now. They've touched base with all these future GMs already. They did not like what they heard about whether they're going to be keeping Joe Judge or not. So clearly that had a factor in it. They did, like Jeff said, they did the right thing. And this is not even almost this not I'm not knocking Joe Judge here, but maybe he's just a casualty of the war, or and maybe he's just going to go somewhere else and be a good coach. But what you had for the better of the New York Giant organization, they had to start the GM and the head coach on the same level. We cannot half measure this anymore. We've done it too many times. You're yo-yoing back and forth. Who's like Jeff said, whose player is coming from which regime? You can't do it anymore. Like you got to start fresh, be on the same page, and move forward as an organization. And that's what they're doing. And that's what all of us fans are preaching for, man. It took so long, but we finally got what we wanted. And I think we actually had a little bit of a hand in it. No, just a little
we
bit.
we
Just a
totally
little
did. We
bit.
totally did.
Eli, what's your thoughts, man?
Same thing with you guys. I mean, changes had to be made. We kind of saw this, especially when John Mara went into his press conference. Um, the 11-minute press conference at the end of the game was kind of more of a deciding factor as well. He wasn't really pleased with that, and also quarterback sneaks, the 6-game losing streak. All of this stuff was just bad. Yes, we understand the injuries were there. We understand that that we was on a third string quarterback, third string offensive lineman, maybe fourth string, but the fight just wasn't there, and it was just time for the Giants to part ways with the coach. And like you guys said, start from scratch with a new GM and a new head coach, not one and then the other, and vice versa. This had to be started from scratch.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I hear you,
get
man.
get
No,
get
well,
Sparrow.
I wonder they had the player exit interviews as well, and I wonder if that played into it a little bit as well. You started to hear more and more about these players that didn't trust Joe Judge's system. how his message it started falling on deaf ears. That kind of stuff comes out at the end of the season, and we saw it happening, and now the players kind of just confirmed what we were seeing. And you also saw reports about how Joe Judge seemed like he didn't really care what was happening on the field. He kind of felt too safe, and that came in and backfired in his face, man. The press conference and how they ended the season all just backfired in his face, and it seemed like a guy that was wasn't too secure with his job, but also thought he was coming back. It was weird, and they nipped it in the bud.
That was so weird to me too. And I'll just have this comment, and then I'll say hi to some people who are firing off in the comments over here. But whether Joe Judge thought his job was safe or not, why would you coach so over conservative?
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, especially in the last home game. If I were him, I'm like, my career is on the line potentially right now. I'm going to go out guns blazing. I'm going to go down swinging. That double QB sneak thing was one of the most gutless things I've ever seen in my life. And he was rightfully shredded across national media for that.
100%.
That is just such an embarrassing brand of football. And it's the opposite of everything he says and everything he preaches. And that's my biggest problem with him. He says one thing and he does another. Don't come at us with this tough guy attitude if you're not a tough guy. If you don't coach tough, if you don't put your guys in positions to have a chance, you rolled over in front of your fans. You had a chance to win some people back. You didn't. He didn't try. So that drives me crazy.
True. And another failed Bill Belichick disciple, right? Coming in with that tough guy act. There's only one Bill Belichick. And I think his coaches have to understand that. Just be you. And a lot of Giants fans was questioning, is this really Joe Judge? Well, come to find out, it isn't, because he was conservative. But let me give you a quote, and then we'll say some hi to the people in the chat. Mm-hmm. But John Mara on a quarterback sneaks in Week 18. Obviously, those wasn't my favorite play calls in the world. With that was just a minor factor of actually letting go Joe Judge as well, of a list of things. So with that, it wasn't his favorite play calls in the world. It was very gutless. So I agree with that as well. It was very gutless on that end and playing it way too safe. And I think that was one of the factors as well. But yeah, who we got in the chat, man?
Jumping in, Justin Pennick, another first come, first show. Justin Pennick's the early bird. He's probably between doing 6 different podcasts and putting film together for us on all these head coach and GM candidates, and that's why we like our friends at Talking Giants, because
shout out,
they keep us informed. They do all that legwork so that we can sound smart in front of our friends. We got Joey Clark in here again. Brian Floyd, what's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping by. Definitely a nice little crew in here, and keep the comments coming. We're here for you. We'll do about a half hour today, but Joe Judge is gone. What do you want in the next head coach? Because I got some ideas, but I want to hear from you guys first. Is there any intangibles? What kind of guy, offense or defense, personality? What are you looking for?
I'll pass that off to Spiro.
Okay. Hey, I mean, listen, I hear that the calls for the Martindales, the Baltimore defensive coordinator, Flores, these experienced guys, and mostly defensive guys, and there is some validity to it, but what has struggled the most the past what feels like 5 years, 10 years at this point, the offense. Let's get a nice, bright, young offensive mind in here. For me, I'm looking, if you're taking the guy Peters from San Francisco, match him up with the offensive coordinator from San Francisco. Bring him over here, Mike McDaniel, who has worked under the brilliant mind of Kyle Shanahan. Bring him over here and let him mold this offense and give him a shot. Dable from the Bills, bring him over here. He's not young per se, but he's not old. He's got a great offensive mind, and I'd like to see an offensive mind in here. That's what needs to get fixed. This is the way the NFL is going. Listen. Defensive coordinator, we would need a nice defensive coordinator as well. I'm not dismissing that, but for me, a young offensive mind that's an up-and-comer, a rising star, give me that, man. That's what I'm looking for.
Listen, the same thing. I think we need an offensive mind in here. Again, according to John Mara, and again, there's another quote that he said, he's not really married to a pair coming in as far as GM and head coach. They don't have
Right.
to come as a package deal. Let the GM go and pick his guy. So with that being said, I think the GM will probably look for an offensive minded because the offense was just so broken. And then come in and hopefully he brings in a defensive coordinator that can come in and hold the weight. The only thing I want to ask you guys as well is Patrick Graham, as we call him, the Black Picasso, right? As everybody deemed him to be that. With the new head coach coming in, do you guys see that the fact that he had success with this defense, do you think he needs another shot, or you think that the new head coach should actually bring him back to be that defensive coordinator? And I'll start with you, Mr. Glass half full.
I mean, listen, I loved Patrick Graham, and I still think he should get a shot at interviewing for the head coach spot because he has been the best part of this coaching staff, without a doubt, for the past 2 years. He is a good defensive mind. I love the guy, and it's a shame that he's going to have to leave. But I think if you're letting the GM and you're pick his coach and you're starting from scratch, you probably have to start from scratch on defense too. You got to just clear everybody out. You see already offensive coaches, defensive line coach left, offensive line coach left. Like, you don't want to piece anything together here. Let's just start fresh, new, and just rip the Band-Aid off and not fire everyone, but say, hey, we're moving in a different direction. I guess it's firing somebody. That's what they tell people when they're
Very
firing.
nice way.
I don't want to fire him. I just don't want him to work here anymore.
You're no longer employed by the New York Giants.
What do you think about that Patrick Graham out there?
Card away.
I think Graham is gone. I think he was a Joe Judge guy and brought him in. And I agree with Spiro. If you're going to start over, start over. I mean, Patrick Graham had a lot more to work with on the defensive side of the ball than any offensive coordinator would have with the O-line the way it is, with Daniel Jones kind of a on-the-fence quarterback. So I would like the GM. It's kind of a cool spot for a GM. And Will Presti, who's a friend of our show, put out a great take during one of Eli's spaces, and then he tweeted it the other day too. It's kind of an ideal gig because you're kind of playing with house money for the first year. You have some great draft capital, 2 top 7 picks. The cap, they're going to have to let go of some contracts. They're going to have to get creative for next year to make some moves. But he said, the first year is kind of free money because the bar is so low. You're literally starting as a 32nd ranked team, essentially, right? So you can only go up from there. Any optimism or any hope is going to be so well received. Nobody's expecting the Giants to win a Super Bowl next year. But you have a chance to start over. And if this guy is coming from, whether it's the Bills or the Niners, he has an opportunity to either bring somebody he totally trusts and is ready for the next promotion, or he has an opportunity to interview everybody, right? And it's kind of a cool spot.
Possibilities are limitless, bro.
He's got so many activities.
So many.
So I think it's a cool spot for a GM. And I was listening to a lot of radio today, and they were all saying it's still an extremely desirable job, whether it's the GM or the head coach. It's New York Giants. I know they've been awful for the last decade, but it's still the New York Giants. It's still a cornerstone franchise, and it's New York. If you have success here, you are, a legend. Basically, you're so much bigger than if you make it in other places. It's the #1 market. So, for the next head coach, definitely want an offensive guy. I don't need a guy to rah me at the microphone in front of the media. Right. I just need a guy who's straight and to the point and says it like it is. Giants fans are going to be sensitive to that crap now. Don't BS us because we're smarter than the average fans, and we've seen it before now. So don't even try that stuff.
Listen, I couldn't agree more with you guys. I'm gonna echo the same thing, but I want to throw something in here a little bit, guys. And there's a lot of things we're going to address as far as what Giants fans are saying on Twitter. Now, we're all very active on there. And the one thing that the Giants was questioning, or the fan base is questioning, was how come Dave Gettleman didn't get fired? Why was he given the opportunity to retire? And the one thing John Mara said in the press conference today is that he didn't feel it was necessary. All the people that he wanted to replace him were employed. Mm-hmm. So, guys, how you feel about that as far as him saying that? Do you guys believe what John Mara is saying at this point? Because at the end, you got to take that with a grain of salt and go, man, he's right. I can see why they didn't fire him. It was just no need to do it at that time. So, would you agree with that?
Well, one thing I will say, sorry, Jeff. All right.
No, we'll start. We'll start with Spiro.
Is that comment alone kind of eliminates at least Scott Pioli, which for me, he's lower on my list because he wasn't employed by anybody. So I like that they're looking at the other guys. For me, he's not even in my top 5. But secondly, I I understand the anger that fans have, but realistically, they've been talking to Shane for months now. So it's kind of we're kind of being a little ignorant if we're thinking that they're just starting this search right now and they didn't have any idea what was going on, and they're just Mara could say that they just started their search officially, but but I don't think that they just started this right now. They've had names in mind. Shane for being for one, and I'm sure he's not the only one that they reached out to prior to firing Dave Gettleman. This has been in the works for 2 months now. The Giants knew they were moving on. They knew they were going to retire Gettleman. So I don't. That doesn't hold too much water for me.
You're probably right. I just think it's a bad look just because he was so awful. I mean, you can debate whether this is one of the worst GM tenures in NFL history.
It's not much of a debate either.
Right. Like he's in the conversation and the fans were upset. And after we started 0-3 and you could kind of feel where the season was going, Mara had to start thinking about this. Like Gettleman already survived cancer. He's old as fuck. He's not good at his job. You got to start thinking about the next chapter. So I'm sure there were conversations going on, or at least a lot of headway made in terms of who's going to be the next GM. I know who Justin likes here. I'm kind of with him.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Absolutely. That's the top one for me.
That's the first interview, and we'll have a shot at a good offensive-minded head coach from Buffalo too, if we want to go that route. I don't know. I know I like the Buffalo offense. I just don't know that much about Dable in terms of philosophy, personality. I don't think I've ever heard him speak. You know what I mean? Like I got work to do on that. But I like the organization. I like what he did with Josh Allen. I think you got to give a lot of credit to the offensive coordinator who's been in his ear for the last few years, right? He's got to have some major role to play in that. You guys like Shane too?
Yeah.
I love him. I think that's my top candidate there, and to bring the ball over, that'll be awesome, man. It's a dream come true for me. But at this point, I just want the process to be the process, and I want the Giants to do their due diligence. And even Mara said in the press conference that he wasn't able to do his due diligence. He wasn't able to be as patient as he was because he thought, man, I had to hire the next guy. So he said he's really taking his time, and that's all we can ask for as a fan base. Take your time, do your due diligence, and get the right person in here to fix this organization from top to bottom. But guys, I got another thing as well. A lot of fans, Chris Mara. That's all you hear is Chris Mara. There's a Mara in the family. This franchise turned to crap. We need to get rid of him. Then a tweet comes out that Chris Mara is in a meeting with those interviews with Tish, John, Shane, and now you have Chris. And he's in an interviewing some of these general managers. And a lot of Giants fans are like, what the hell is he in here for? But John Mara also said today that he doesn't hold any weight, the fact that he's a Mara. And secondly, he's just in charge of scouting college talent at this point, but the final decision is general manager and head coach when it comes to personnel. Are you buying that? And I'm gonna start with Hefe. On this one because I need to hit Hefe on this one.
We're gonna have to put some that. We're gonna put some stickers up for Eli so that he knows.
I gotta work the camera.
I'm working on it. Right is left.
I mean, Chris Mara is not going anywhere. John Mara is not going to fire him. I mean, he's blood. And if you had your family member up there with you through thick and thin, you're going to get rid of him just because things aren't going perfectly. No, you're going to hire more people because you're rich as hell. Money is nothing. And you can get the right people and still keep your brother. Like, even if he has literally no weight and he's not doing anything, he wouldn't be in those meetings. I mean, we wish we had insight into that stuff, into what he was actually saying and doing in those meetings. But I love that they interviewed Shane first. Like they wasted no time getting that. One last thought on Gettleman is just that I think what leaves a lot of fans with a bad taste in their mouth is we got no closure. That guy was so arrogant and cocky and wrong in everything he did for 4 years. And we didn't get to see him face the music and say he was wrong or say he was sorry or any of that stuff. We got to see him take a victory lap at the last home game with his family and friends and ride off into the sunset. I think that's what irks Giants fans more than the fact that he was able to retire and not get fired. You know what I mean? But he's friends with the owner. They've had a relationship for 20, 30 years, whatever it is. And Mara wasn't going to do him dirty like that.
Right. You wanted him in shackles, in the town square, able to stone him, throw your lettuce. And realistically, this is what happens when rich people who are employed by rich owners, this is what happens when they fail. You go away unceremoniously. And that's exactly what happened. Now he's going to be in Cape Cod. He's going to be off in the sunset. Agreed that, you want the public shaming, but realistically, Mara was never going to let that happen. And it sucks. We wanted our piece of flesh and we didn't get it. But realistically, it's about the future now. So it's like, for me, it's like time to move on. Just do the right thing going forward. And I just love that they're casting such a wide net. They're saying all the right things now. Whether that comes to fruition, we'll know in the next few weeks. As for Chris Mara, I mean, listen, he is in the interview process. He is sitting in these rooms, but what exactly he does, we don't know. I love to be a fly on the wall, but we'll never know what he has done in the past, and we'll never know what he's doing right now. I think they're diminishing. If we hold Mara to his word, they're going to diminish the roles and change the roles of people that are there. They're going to let this new GM really come in and start clean and fresh. The man I want out is Chris Pettit. Yeah, he's been the one that everybody's really been trashing. I think he holds a little bit more weight in terms of personnel, and he's the guy that needs to get out. So I want to see that as soon as possible, and I'm hoping that it still happens. McConnell too. I think that's another name that Tim McConnell, he's be out. These are the names that I'm more worried about than Chris Mara, who is entrenched in this business, whether we like it or not. And again, if we pick the right GM, new head coach, we're not going to be screaming about how bad John Mara and Chris Mara are anymore. If we start winning, that we forget about the owners. So that's what I've said from the beginning. John Mara and I believe you guys have both echoed this. They have the chance to change the narrative here, and all they need to do is pick the right guys and step out of the way, and the rest will take care of itself.
And just cash your checks like you always do, right?
Yeah,
but don't waste your energy on wanting John Mara to sell the team or Chris Mara to get fired.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. If you owned a money printing business, would you sell it?
Heck no.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And this is not like the Wilpons where they were caught up in some money making scheme and are sapped the money. The Maras are doing fine. They're not selling. They're not in any kind of they're not getting any allegations for kitty stuff, and they're not losing money. They're doing fine, and they're going to be the owner. So we have to just live with that and hope that they start making better decisions, and that's really all it comes down to.
And and I agree with that too, because again, we're all concerning on something that we can't control. And to me, it's just the next in line. I think if John Mara was to retire tomorrow, God forbid, something else happens to him, I think Chris Mara could be that guy. Now, if you look at not the guy to make it better, but I think he's just the guy next in line. It's just what it is. So, but if you look at the staff, there's Tish family members on the staff too. Yep. So we don't know exactly what his role is, and the fact that they're grooming Chris Mara to take over that franchise someday, that's what I think it is. I don't know if he's part of the college scouting aspect of it. They brought in some pretty good players in the past few, so you got to give him some sort of credit. I won't say it's completely crap, you know what I mean? But with that being said, he's just next in line to run the family business.
Without knowing for sure, I can't help but think of the SNL skit where the two Trump brothers are on like Weekend Update, and like one brother is like smart and can actually talk, and the other one
yes.
I saw that.
I did use the GIF today, and Twitter is the best with GIFs, man. There's no other platform. Like you could search for literally anything, and they'll have the exact scene that you're looking for all the time. So props to Twitter GIFs.
Hey, Nathan brings up a good question here, though.
Absolutely. So let's jump into that a little bit as far as Kevin Abrams is concerned. Why is he not a GM candidate? Because I think the fans will riot. At this point, the fans will completely riot. You have to go outside, man. The Giants is used to the norm because the last year or the last GM search, they had Kevin Abrams, Louis Riddick, and Dave Gettleman, and I think someone else as well. And that was it. So imagine you selling to the fans that Kevin Abrams could be that next guy there. I don't think the fans will actually go for it. Hefe, what do you think?
I wonder how much Giants fandom, Giants Twitter really, I mean, there has to be someone at the Giants organization really like keeping a pulse on this stuff. You
Yeah.
know, there's all this rumor about burner accounts and all that crap, but I mean, there is legit uproar from people talking about. I mean, I said something like, if they roll back with Abrams, Judge, and Jones, I'm going into this season with literally zero optimism.
People
Like,
were selling their tickets.
right,
if
like,
that
and
happened.
that, they know that. They know that,
Yeah.
right? That's getting to them in some way.
Mhm.
So if Abrams is the cap expert, well, we're in cap hell a little bit. So,
Right.
so I'd rather the new GM bring in his own cap guy and look at this roster from the outside, like with no personal ties. Just look at this as a business and the value that you're getting for each player, not where you drafted him and you know his family and you talk to him on draft night. You really want to pull for him to succeed. I think bad business decisions have been made with the Giants because of things like that, and they held on to Eli too long. They're giving, I mean, Jones has been dealt a bad hand, but they're giving him a very long runway to get his stuff together. You know what I mean? Like, look at the Cardinals did with Josh Rosen after a year. They're like, oh, we got a chance at a better quarterback. Peace. Thanks for nothing. You know what I mean? They just moved on and look at them now. You have to be fluid and you have to be able to move on without emotion. And that's what hopefully the Giants learned through recent history, and that this new GM can come in with an outside perspective and make the right moves.
Well, the hope is that, you know, this next GM, the hope is he has the same kind of impact as George Young did when he came in the late 70s, because the Giants were a shit show once before. This has happened before, guys. There's precedence to it, you know, and George Young came in, he changed everything about the Giants, the way they scout, the way the trainers, way the strength and conditioning worked. He changed everything. And that's the hope that what this next guy could do is just change everything about this culture. And you heard it in John Mara's press comments. He's never been more embarrassed than he has been today about being a Giants owner. And that affects people. I don't care who you are, to be embarrassed about a product. And we could say John Mara's cashing checks and everything, but I truly do believe that he cares about this organization because his dad cared about it. And he has grown up into this organization, and I truly do think he loves it. And I think he's so embarrassed that it's going to embarrass him into change. Like you said, he wanted to keep Joe Judge. He probably wants to keep Abrams too. But, you know, these guys are victims of the situation, and it has to change. Everything has to change. So
I
I'm
agree. And I agree. I want to give you guys a quote because when he was asked about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, he said he's going to leave that up to the general manager and head coach. So let's play a game. Why not? It's New York Revival. We're here for fun. And I'm going to start with these two guys here because I'm going to get the cameras right one day. So I'm going to just do this, all right?
This should be our new symbol.
Right? This should be the new symbol. That's it. So I'm going to start with my guys here. And the question I pose to you guys, we're going to play a game. You are the general manager. You have Saquon Barkley in front of you with all the situations, contract, etc., and you have Daniel Jones. And I'm going to start with you, Mr. Glass Half Full. What would you do right now coming in as a general manager in the New York Giants with those two particular players?
Well, you know, it's tough. It's tough because you're selling Saquon Barkley. If you're selling Saquon Barkley, you're selling him at his all-time low. He could not have performed worse than what he did last year. So do you want to do that? Does a 5th-round pick do anything for you as opposed to what a peak Barkley could do behind an offensive line? For me personally, it's tough because I would keep him because of what he can be, but that salary is still too high if he's going to play like he did play last year. So it's a catch-22 on what you want to do with him. Daniel Jones, I think the answer is a little bit more clear. There's no real quarterbacks coming out. You're not in position to really draft one at number 5 or 7. You're in position, but there's nobody to draft is what I'm trying to say. So what I would do, I'd keep Jones one more year, ride it back with him with a good offensive line, but make sure you have a good, capable backup. You know, either draft one after round 1 or preferably after round 2, and give him some competition. At the very least, you have someone capable of picking up the slack when he's injured, because inevitably he's probably going to get injured, as we see in the past 3 years. Have someone that's ready to go under the offensive that fits the offensive coordinator system, the new offensive coordinator. That's the way I'd go. Trade Barkley, probably. Trade Barkley. I'm going to say that. And just recoup the money that you have to pay him. Trade him to Buffalo if you're Shane. You know, use those connections there. That might be a good spot. But yeah, that's the way I would go with it.
Hit it.
Nice, you got it right, brother.
Got it right.
I'm out on Barkley, even at $7 million for and granted, I know he was banged up and he was on his way back, but this team is just you're almost never in a position to pay a running back, a lot of money, and that you just see teams having success without having to do that or having a committee. And there's no reason the Giants need to, because if you pay him the $7 million this upcoming year and he has another mediocre, he's banged up, and now he has no value. You can get literally nothing for him. With another year left on his rookie deal, there might be a Buffalo or a team like that that's competitive, that might want that extra spark, that has the room. There are teams, believe it or not, that have healthy cap spaces. So there could be a scenario where another team wants that and is willing to take the risk at the high ceiling that Barkley does come with. Jones, I think, there are quarterbacks, but you want as close to a sure thing if you're taking that first round quarterback.
Yep.
And if it's not that, then just improve the team, because there's enough needs on the offensive line, edge rusher positions, where go beef up the lines, man. That's where the game is won. And it looks like Jones is going to get another year. Obviously, you got to bring in some competition or an appropriate backup quarterback. That was an absolute joke with the Giants rolled out there behind Daniel Jones this year. For a guy that's played average ball and not consistent enough in a tough situation, banged up and all that, you can't have two flops behind him. That was incompetent by Gettleman and Judge and whoever is in charge. Judge had a hand in personnel, but it was just a bad look by both of them. Giants were non-competitive as soon as Jones went down, and they were losing with Jones. So it just tells you how bad they assessed everything about this roster. So you got to bring in competition. Maybe you take a flyer on a third round. Once it's out of the first and second round, you might be able to look at a quarterback. I know, Spiro, you had your eye on one, right? Was it?
Yeah. Zappy from Western Kentucky is a name, and who knows, maybe Willis from this guy. Everybody's talking about Willis from Liberty. If he fits the scheme, yeah, there you go. Look, Nathan on top of it again. Just
Nathan's on fire today.
Yeah.
But that's what you got to do. You can't go in with the same kind of outlook. And I really hope the new GM is willing to make tough decisions. I want to see Kyle Rudolph sent to the moon. What an awful freaking contract. I mean, what a waste of money when you could have kept Zeitler for $10 million. You know what I mean? Like, just terrible management all around. So give me a guy that has no ties to anybody on the roster who's like, yeah, you're gone. Sorry. Thanks for your service. You're gone. Because if you're looking at anybody on the roster, all the Giants did was lose with you.
Right.
So we could either look to the future. We could lose without you if we lost with you. You know what I mean? So you may as well look at some better talent.
Absolutely. And also with, if I was to play GM, whoever the case is, the unfortunate part is, you got to kind of keep Daniel Jones, because again, you want to show fire if you're going to reach for a quarterback in round 1. Round 3 and 4, if you want to see somebody there that has great value that's in the quarterback position, yeah, definitely pull the trigger and kind of see what's there. But then you'll be kind of repeating the cycle if you reach for a quarterback in round 1. Look at Daniel Jones, round 6, and he's not living up to that expectation. And the fans are going to go nuts all over again.
Overall, yeah,
exactly. So you're gonna kind of have to start with, just keep Daniel Jones here. As far as Saquon Barkley, unfortunately, I say trade him. Because again, when you look at it, you could kind of find a running back in the late rounds, like a la Ahmad Bradshaw. These guys were all late rounds, 7, 6, 5th round picks, and these guys can execute and produce for a team. And then you go and you pick number 2 overall, a running back, and he's banked up. Yes, he had Rookie of the Year. I get it, guys. But at the same time, he hasn't produced. We haven't won. So I think you got to go and, we still lost. And you got to go back and you got to, reassess and build this roster again. But if you're not going O-line, man, I don't know what the hell to tell you. O-line, man.
You know why you don't have to pay Saquon? Because you got Booker for $1 million or $2 million, whatever they gave him. And he was more productive on the same amount of work. And then the Cardinals got Connor for like less than $1 million, like at the league minimum or whatever they got. Like, running backs, they don't get that second big contract. And when they do, the team regrets it. You know what I mean? Like, the Panthers are like, now we're stuck with McCaffrey. This guy can't stay healthy. I mean, Alvin Kamara is maybe one of the few that
but he wasn't overused. He was used properly. God, I wish Sean Payton had Barkley. That would be, something else. But
like Derrick Henry, a guy like that you model your whole team after. And I mean, Henry went down. They're still the #1 team in the AFC.
I got a question for you guys. This is
Absolutely.
totally going back to maybe a prior topic. Would you trade the 7th pick for Sean Payton to be the head coach of the New York Giants?
A seventh,
The
7th
pick that we have the 5th
the
and
7th
7th pick.
pick.
Yeah, because it's going to take a monstrous trade to get Sean Payton, but he's a game changer. It's an interesting.
I mean, the fact that he's had the Saints competitive all year.
He did his best job this year.
Drew Brees retired. Jameis Winston gets hurt. Taysom Hill, who's just an athlete, he's not even a quarterback.
Let him marinate in there. Let him marinate.
I
see Eli. He's really thinking this over.
That's a tough one. Man.
It is, because
it's a big pick. It's a big pick to give up because you get a game changer there. But Sean Payton, man, he's proven to be a program changer,
and he's got Giants blood.
He's got Giants blood in him. He might want to come back here and revive this program.
I'll do it.
Interesting thought process. You would do it?
I think I'll do it.
Yeah.
I think I'll do it. I would definitely do it. And he said 5th and 7th. I'm about to say, if we keep the 5th, get an offensive lineman, and I'll trade my 7th away, definitely I'll do it, because I really think Sean Payton is that great coach, man.
Come on, Joey. We still need some players. We need some players,
man. I'm not doing 5th and 7th, but 7, give me Sean Payton. Absolutely. Hands down. This
is a good point. The Saints are in like $100 million cap hell.
Yeah,
the wrong
direction. To a better place.
But yeah,
actually, we're both in cap hell.
Guess what? They were still able to field 53 players.
Yes,
keep that in mind.
Which is insane. So, guys, I know we're coming a little bit close to the ending of the show because we promised we're going to give them 30 minutes. But, we have fun. We love to sit with the people, chat with the people, and thank you for your time and your afternoon of doing this. But, guys, after all of this changes that happen throughout the week, what's next for the Giants? Are you optimistic for their future? The fact that, we don't know what coach or GM is coming in, but is this the first start of healing and being optimistic again for this organization? And Hefe, I'll start with you.
I will say that I was at that third game, the game against Atlanta, when we lost on the last second field goal. I was in the end zone where Dory Jackson dropped the interception that would have sealed it. I saw Patterson make that big play that set them up for the game-winning field goal. And it was so heartbreaking because I knew that was it. So I had hope up until that point, because at that point we could win that game, go 1-2, we're alive. The season's long. I lost hope right there. Part of me knew that it was over. When Joe Judge got fired, that is the first time that I felt optimistic since before that Atlanta game. Genuinely. This is the first time. So this is like a fresh restart. They did it the right way by cleaning it together, getting the GM and the head coach on the same page. Let the GM, the right GM, and there's a lot of good candidates, let that guy run the show. So I am optimistic. And next year is going to be a work in progress. It's going to be, new offense. You're going to be looking at all those things that you're not going to expect them to start hot out of the gate. But at least there's a chance now, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if they rolled back Judge, you already knew
there's a chance.
You already knew when you tell me there's a chance. We already knew what Judge brought. So I am optimistic. Not just about, I think next year we're going to see big improvement. We're just going to have better people around the Giants. It's not going to be the same old stuff. So I am very optimistic, and hope has been restored, if you ask me.
I agree. Spiro.
Yeah, listen, they're saying all the right things, and you're seeing it. You're seeing the thought process even be better. In 2017, who do we have going for GM? It was Abrams. It was Gettleman. It was like Louis Riddick, and I forget, it was maybe even another retread. There's 4 guys, and they were all Giants ties.
Yep.
There's no Giants ties anymore. They said, Abrams, we are specifically not interviewing you because you have Giants ties. They're casting such a wide net, and all these guys are from winning organizations. I'm hearing good things about each one of these guys. So everything just feels different. And like Jeff said, they're starting from scratch for the first time in years. The whole process just feels better. It sounds better. And let's be honest, we're starting from rock bottom here. There's really nowhere to go but up. We are the worst team in the league right now. So it just feels a lot better. I have my glass half fullness is back. I'm feeling like my normal self again. But let's see how this next 2-3 weeks play out, because it's gonna happen fast. We're gonna have a GM by the end of next week. I truly believe that, because they cannot wait on this on
Can't
this
sleep
process.
on it. Yep.
These coaches are already interviewing already. So it's going to have to be bang bang, and I'm looking forward to the next 2-3 weeks with you guys.
Yeah, it's already mid-January.
Absolutely.
You got the draft in April, so you got to put a whole staff together. You need to put all the brains together, and get everyone on the same page. So I think it will go quickly.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I'm optimistic, man, and I tweeted out this morning that optimistic Eli or vibes is back. This was the first start, and the reason why I'm optimistic is because they're going out of the norm. They're going out of their usual comfort zone of going in-house, like you said, Spiro. They're actually going to different organizations to where they're more analytically sound. You got to see the actions and be like, man, they're really trying to make this thing right. And that's all we can ask for as a fan base. We got everything that we wanted for the Giants to do when they let go of the GM and the head coach. Finally, we'll have a pair come in and actually try to fix this thing. The only thing that I would like to say to fans is now we have to be a little bit more patient. We cannot blow this thing up after 2 years now. Might not have to blow this thing up after 3. We might have to give them a 4-year span. And a lot of people probably in the chat like, Eli, you're crazy. But it's a fact. This team is dead last in every category. This is a bad team. This is probably the worst team in football. This is going to take some time. It's not going to take overnight to repair what's here and what Dave Gettleman left for the New York Giants and the new GM. We're in cap hell. Yes, we have some picks, but we still got to develop these young guys. Not everybody comes out of the gate hot. Look at Andrew Thomas. It took him in the second year to be hot. So I'll just say to fans, be optimistic.
And be patient.
Patient.
Yeah.
Patience is a virtue.
Sorry, I took the words out of your mouth.
No, don't worry. Patience is a virtue. And we have to practice that. 2024, and Aaron, you might be right on that.
No.
Let's hope it's sooner, but I might be right on that. I can see it. You never know.
I just want. I'll leave it on this last thing here. I don't think we're truly as far away as it seems right now. I do think there are some nice pieces on the defense. The defense is not far away. The defense needs an edge rusher. Fix the things that we need to fix are right in front of you. Offensive line, edge rusher. Those two things alone puts you into at least the average part of the NFL. And one more last thing about the patience thing. This is the beautiful thing about having a GM and head coach on the same timeline. Now you can give them 3 years because you know that they're building towards something.
Yes,
you know that they're bringing in their same players. They're in the same, hopefully on the same page.
Great
now
point.
you can give that 30 years. So that and I preach patience, but I don't think it's going to take that long.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point because they're actually on the same page. They were brought in at the same time. They have invested interest in each other. One guy wasn't handed to the other, which has been the problem. And the Giants really messed up last time with Gettleman, with Shermer, with Judge. They really messed up. I'm with Eli. There's no way they fire this coach after 2 years again and do it again. Like that would just be, they didn't want to do it a third time. They're definitely not going to do it a fourth time. So get it right this time. Get the right GM and the right coach. Like Spiro said, let them build this together. 2022 is not going to be a year where the Giants light the world on fire. And if they do, awesome. But just don't expect that. Let's take a breath because they are doing it the right way now. And let's just try to enjoy it. And you got New York Revival to help you through it.
Yes.
Damn right. And guys, thank you so much. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification. And please, guys, if you have anything to promote, anything you want us to share, you are the sponsors. This is your show. So please DM one of us or email the nyrevival@gmail.com. And on behalf of El Jefe and on behalf of Mr. Glass Half Full, Spiro, we are the New York Revival. And we thank you so much for your time and spending this afternoon with us. Cheers.
Thank you, guys.